This word of mouth that's genuine and it's authentic, you cannot fabricate that. You cannot buy that. Delivering a great product is not enough anymore. There's you need something extra. There has to be a purpose. There has to be an impact. There has to be something emotional that goes beyond just having a great product or a great service. For me, everything is data driven and very structured problem solving. Just listening to the community, even if it's not yours, is something that I think more business owners should do. Just spend more time with their customers, and you can do that virtually nowadays. You don't even have to meet them in person. If your product is something people can live without, you should probably worry about your cash flow management in the next 12 months to make sure that you are ready in case anything happens.
Mar Pages, welcome to Coffee with Experts.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here. Tell me a little bit about Solo Female Travelers, and then I'll ask you to back us up. So what does Solo Female Travelers do for the audience?
So Solo Female Travelers is a platform that empowers women in the tourism industry. And that's both travelers and also women who work in the tourism industry as guides or business owners. So it's empowering women to travel and in the travel industry in general.
Okay. And you didn't start from a very young age traveling and bringing people together and hosting tours. You actually had quite a different background. Where were you in your life in terms of like career, lifestyle, when you decided to start this business? Like, take me back to that point where you were like, man, I'm going to pivot.
Sure. So you're right. I didn't start in the travel industry. I started traveling. So I was more a user of the travel industry than somebody who worked in the industry. I had an almost 20-year career in business consulting, strategy consulting in the telecoms industry and at Google and in financial strategy before starting Solo Female Travelers with my business partner, Meg. It was more, what was the commonality throughout my career was the traveling part, not so much the working in the travel industry. So during those 20 years, I was traveling almost every week. So I have been traveling 50 to 60% of the time since I'm 23. So that's more than 20 years now. And so that was the commonality through all of those jobs that I had. I would say that right now I am on my third or fourth professional career change.
Awesome. I love it. And it's not uncommon, I think, especially now for people to say, I'm not going to be in a, 20, 30 year legacy type of career where I get my pension and then I retire and yada, yada. It's like we're many retiring throughout our careers. And I think that's where Solo Female Travelers steps in and helps people do that safely and more effectively and with more fun. Started the company not to make money, but rather for social impact. Can you tell me a little bit about like what drove you to start the company?
That's right. Meg and I took over the community, which is the beginning of everything at Solo Female Travelers. It's a Facebook group that turned 10 years old in July this year. So it's now 10 and a half years old. It was started by a friend of ours and we took over the community at the end of 2019. So this was the beginning of everything. We didn't take over the group with any other aspiration than just managing and moderating a community that at that time was quite small. It had less than 20,000 members. It is now approaching 500,000. So at that time, it was just like, oh, this friend of ours was going on a long trip. She couldn't manage the group. Let's take over. Why not? We love traveling solo. Both me and my business partner have been traveling solo since we are 18 and 20. And so we thought, how nice would it be to manage this community and being among like-minded women? And so that's how it all started. We didn't have any other aspiration. Then both Meg and I had travel blogs before. And so we thought, okay, why not? Let's start a website that has the repository of all the information that gets asked all the time in the community, how to travel safe, how to meet people, and so on. And so we started the website and that was it. Then the pandemic arrived. And so the group started to grow exponentially because people were finding that they couldn't travel and they wanted to continue to talk about travel. And so suddenly we were adding 1,000 members a day. And so by June 2020, just 6-7 months after we took over, we already hit 100,000 members. And so that was the beginning. And then what happened is that the community grew so much that it required a team of moderators to manage it 24/7. And so we felt like we needed to hire people. Then at that time, also Meg got pregnant. And so she needed to take time off. And we knew that she would be less available and that she would want to take maternity leave. And the group continued to grow. And we thought, okay, what can we do to maintain this community and to moderate it while being able to hire people? We didn't want to have volunteers. So we needed the community to generate money. But we wanted to keep it free from any advertising. And we wanted to maintain it as a resource for people, for women to go to find advice and tips and be among like-minded women. And at the same time, also encourage them to travel solo, because at that time it wasn't as popular as it is today. A lot has changed in 5 years. And
Mm.
so at that time, Facebook accepted us into their accelerator for communities, which they no longer do now. And they provided financing. So we hired people, and then we started to think about ways to make the community financially sustainable. And tours was something that popped up as a great way to feel a market need. Lots of women want to travel solo, but maybe they don't want to go independently. And at the same time, we could use the tours to have an impact in the travel industry by focusing the tours on supporting women-owned businesses. So our guests are women, and also the businesses we support are women-owned. And so that duality is what makes us different from other companies that have women-only tours. We also go one step further by making it have social impact by supporting women-owned businesses. So we try to make the tours 100% female-led and female-focused. So the hotels, the transportation, the experiences, the guides, everybody, we are aiming for it to be hiring women only, and so they are 100% women-led. Sometimes we fall short because it's just not possible. But that was the social impact mission part of it. For us, we always say we're a for-profit company with a social impact mission, and so for us, the profits are not the focus. The social impact and bringing more women to the solo travel world, and also supporting more women-owned businesses in the places that we visit, is the main objective, rather than the secondary collateral benefit of running tours.
I love that. I love that. For our audience, a lot of them are entrepreneurs, small business owners, marketing agency owners. And for agency owners, a majority of their business or leads come from referrals and word of mouth. And although we can try and install systems to ask for referrals, really the best system for referrals is to do great work and to create joy and surprise and really deliver an amazing customer experience. How are you thinking about going above and beyond and creating like a great user experience for your community members that then took the next step and got a tour with you, or engaged in some sort of service that you provide? What sort of things were you thinking of to add that element of whatever it is to create raving fans?
I think what truly makes us different from pretty much every other company out there is that we have a heart. We put it all our heart and passion into what we do. And so our customers know it, be it in the community where we are present, but nowadays not as much because it's very time consuming, or on our tours, because I join many of our tours personally. Meg leads our Australia tour, so she's there as the
Mhm.
host. And so when people meet us, and through the emails that I send every single week, I have been sending emails to our newsletter subscribers since March 2020. So that's almost 6 of 2 emails a week that I personally write
Mm.
every single week. So people get to know you very closely when every week they are reading your emails, or they meet you on a tour. They really get to know who you are, and they know that we are genuine in what we do. For us, it's not a marketing slogan. We didn't get into this to make money, and they can see this because that's not the goal of everything we do. And so this consistency, these small little details here and there that people see, means that they understand that our heart and soul are fully into it. And so when we say that we support women and that we do our best, they know we mean it. And so when they come and they experience it and they join a tour, they actually see it. They can see it in the women that they meet, in the relationships that we have with them, in the way we support them, in the fact that sometimes when things don't go according to plan, we find ways, in the challenges that it means to hire women. Sometimes they're mothers and they need to last minute leave because they have an emergency at the family, and women tend to be the ones to take care of those things. And so they see through all the little details that we really mean it. And so they become very fierce advocates. We have a very high rate of repeat. 40% of our customers travel with us more than once. This year, like almost, like around 40% of the people who travel with us, the women who travel with us, were repeat customers. And so many have 2, 3, 4, 5 tours with us into the future. They are very fierce advocates. When they come and they experience the product and the service, and the experience is not just about having a great time. It's about having a great time that makes a difference. And when they see that,
Mm.
they tell everybody else. They want to tell everybody else. We ask them for reviews like every other company asks you for reviews. When you go to a restaurant, you'll get an automated email saying, please review. We don't do this. We send a personal email, and we send them with photos of the group and from photos of the trip. And so they understand it's very personal, and then they want to tell others. We already
Mhm.
have we have about 450 reviews between Google, Facebook, and all the other things. And we've had 1,500 guests with us. So that is a very high percentage of people leaving your review. Anybody who has a
Yeah.
business knows that it's really hard to get more than 10% of your customers to leave a review. And this is
Yeah.
people who cannot leave us more than one, because on Google you can only leave one.
Yeah.
So even then, we still get more than one. Sometimes they go and they will edit it, and then they tell everybody else about it. And so this word of mouth
Mm.
that's genuine and it's authentic, you cannot fabricate that. You cannot buy that. This comes from when people travel with you, they buy your product and they see that you are genuinely, your heart is in it, right? So if you're selling a product and you know that you're all of it is into it, their customers are going to find out. If you're what you're selling is transactional, then that part is being lost, and so everything is much further, right? You're dealing with an enterprise, with a corporation. You don't know who the owner is. You don't know why they got into it. If you think about the products that you really genuinely recommend to other people, it's because you identify with the story, because you enjoyed the program and the product, but there has to be something else that will make you recommend it. Because we use many products and it takes time to go and leave a review and to recommend something to someone else. This little extra is what I think we bring and what any entrepreneur should think about to kind of like take those customers into advocates and referrals and like, just ambassadors for your business beyond just having a great time. Having a great time, delivering a great product is not enough anymore. There's
Yeah.
like, you need something extra. There has to be a purpose. There has to be an impact. There has to be something emotional that goes beyond just having a great product or a great service.
Mm, yeah, having a great product and a great service is almost table stakes these days. Like it's
It's a given.
expected. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's expected that you are going to get what you paid for, but then taking it a step further and making it personal in terms of like recapping everything. I'm curious when you're working with your team, whether that's your internal team that's helping you scout and helping you arrange the tours, or those are the, community managers or the moderators. Do you have an internal like mantras or guiding principles or values that you instill on the team that you all, function on internally to create those experiences?
I think that it's just about hiring people who share your values, right? So we don't have to instill
Mm,
anything into them that they don't already have. They joined us because they
mm,
genuinely shared our passion. And so, yes, they are employees, but in the end, it very much feels like a family, right? We're a small team. Our team is entirely remotely distributed. Meg hasn't met a couple of our employees because she just doesn't travel as much and she lives in Australia. So we've been working with somebody for 3 years that we've never met in person and we may never meet because she works in El Salvador. We are going to meet as a team next year in June in Barcelona. We will have in like a group team, but I haven't seen Meg all of this year. I didn't see her. Last time I saw her was last June. We will see again, as I said, next June. So 2 years. We met in
wow.
2023 and we had started the business completely remotely. We had not seen each other since 2015 until
Wow.
2023. So everything works remotely. You cannot micromanage people. You cannot be on top of people. You cannot transfer a culture or a value that that person doesn't already have because you don't have the day-to-day meeting of that person. You don't have the coffee breaks. You don't have the after work drinks. You have to do all of this virtually, right? And we all know through the pandemic how hard that is. So it's about hiring people who already have that in them. And all our team are feminists. They very much share our values. They want to see us succeed because they are very much invested into the mission that we are following. And so they are very proud to be a part of this. And that is enough. We don't have to instill anything in them. They are very much aligned. When we make decisions, we know they will understand them. We know these are the same decisions they would have made if the company was theirs. So that's quite important. You bring people that already are on the same page, and then you don't have to train them in any way.
Mm, yeah, finding people that are already aligned with you. I have a question and yeah, I'm not sure how you've approached it, but with community management, I've managed several communities and one that I was managing, we developed what's called an ambassador program where we essentially, had a global community. There were thousands of members, approaching the six-figure mark and they were real advocates of the program. It was a personal development program, kind of like mindfulness meditation and we eventually started giving them additional benefits for the most active community members. And they would then go out and kind of promote. We essentially identified a trend within the community where they were, again, the most active inside the community, but then on their personal profiles, they were promoting the community, sharing their experience. And we decided we wanted to reward them for that. So we gave them like, sneak peeks or like beta testing new programs or like discounts on upcoming services and things like that and their job was kind of they actually became our first moderators of the community that replaced us and we were working for the corporate company. Are you thinking of any ambassador programs or anything like that where you're essentially providing like a reward structure for those who are like hyper engaged or how do you think about community engagement in that way?
So all of our previous guests have an ambassador program. So if they bring any
Mm,
other guest and the other guest mentions their name, then they get $100 in credit, which they can accumulate, and they will have it for as many guests as they bring. And some of them are aware of this, and some of them will let us know. The majority of them don't care so much. They are referring us because they are passionate and because they had a great time and because they see that we make a difference. And so they
mhm,
want to tell about it. But we do have a program. It's just not as utilized as we had thought it would be.
mm,
But we have it for our previous guests, and we have it for travel agents who may bring customers on board, and we have it for our guides as well. So even our guides
mm.
get referral bonuses if they bring guests to any of our tours. Let's say they had a guest on Egypt, and then they tell them about our Iceland tour, and then that guest books Iceland, and we also reward the guide. So we basically reward anybody who is in our network that brings a referral. It's more like a recognition because, as I said, they do it anyway, and they do it
Mhm,
without the referrals. It's more like a reward that we want to give them and to thank them. And we also have
mm.
a reward system for our guides. When they complete 10 tours with us, they have a free tour with us. So when they have guided 10 tours, then they get a free tour. So it's kind of like rewarding anybody who is in our sphere of influence with a reward and a credit for anything that they do to refer us. However, as I said, they do it without any referral program.
Yeah, yeah, they do it anyway. I love that. It's the intrinsic motivators, and then adding that extrinsic motivator retroactively actually creates that delight that we're talking about in order to create those raving fans. And for our listeners who are entrepreneurs, just thinking in that way of like, yes, we want more referral programs and we can promote those, but I think, if what we're doing is we're training the community, we're training our clients that if they do a specific set of behaviors, like that is also something that benefits the company. And we're going to share openly that that's what we would like them to do by providing those external bonuses. Take me back a little bit. So, when you took over the community in 2019, you realized that it had to be financially viable in order for you to continue doing it. Like you said, it's a lot to manage a community. The first step creating those tours, or how did you think about monetization, and where do you think monetization is going next?
So this is an important point that I miss mentioning. But for us, I have a very long career working for Google and being a strategy consultant. So for me, everything is data driven and very
Hmm.
structured problem solving, right? So for me, I see a problem and I already in my mind, everything in my life, I approach it like problem solving. So in that case, my starting point was very clear and very obvious. I needed data. I needed to understand what women really want, what are their challenges, what are their motivations, what do they need.
Mm,
For me, it was straightforward that we needed to get data because even though I've been traveling solo for 20 years and so has Meg, we're not representative of the majority of women out there at all. We are educated,
mhm,
we have a powerful passport, we've traveled a lot, we speak languages, we have a lot of things that the majority of people don't have. And so what we did first was to run a survey that this
mm,
year it's about to finish this week. We always do it at the end of December. It collects around 2 to 5,000 responses every year from women traveling solo on 30 questions. So we started in
mm,
2020. So at the end of 2020, we ran this survey and we collected a lot of information about what women want, what they need, what their challenges are, what their worries are. And from that survey is where we came to the conclusion that tours would be a great way to make the community sustainable because we could have an impact and
mhm,
we could feel a need at the same time. It was something that at that time wasn't as talked about as it is today, so it wasn't as obvious. We would have probably come down to the same conclusion by observing the community, because even if I didn't have data, I would still, when you're in the community every day, you're among your customers every single day in a way that
mhm,
most companies never will be. You are always hearing and listening what's going on, right? What they are thinking about. I see trends before they are talked about anywhere because I see them in the community, right? People talk about those things. And so
mhm,
we would have probably come down to the same conclusion, just we had data to back it up. And that's data that
mm,
we make available to the public and to any company that wants to serve women traveling solo because of our advocacy efforts. We want companies, any company out there, any brand, any destination who wants to understand what women want to use that data. And we provide it freely on our website. Now there's many more companies that have run surveys, but back then there was nothing available, zero. And so that
mm,
data gave us this understanding of like, this is what women worry about. These are their needs. And all of these needs can be fulfilled and can be met by offering women only tours because they'll feel safe. They'll feel among women like them. They'll make new friends. They'll have others that want and can travel. Maybe their friends don't want to or can't afford it or can because they have children. And maybe their husband don't want to travel. And so we kind of like, we would fulfill all those needs. They are not, they are afraid of getting bored, of getting lost, of safety. All of these things can all be addressed with a tour. And so in the survey results, which are on our website. Anybody can go and check them out. It was
Mm,
obvious tours would be something that would generate that income and at the same time meet a need. And so we took it one step further by saying, let's make them have a positive impact. So that data was something that was very important for us. But as I said, if you have a
mm,
community, you have this lack of being able to identify trends by being among the people that are your audience all the time. So if you spend a couple of days in the community, you will very quickly understand what it is that worries them and what's being talked about the most. And so it's quite useful to have a community for that purpose. So any company out there who doesn't have a community, even if you don't monetize it in any other way, and it just remains
mhm.
a community that has no commercial value in it, like ours, you will still have access to understanding your customers very, very well and will be able to talk to them every day. You don't have to organize a focus group or run a survey. You're literally listening to them every day, talking
Yeah.
about what is them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it's difficult for an entity to, you have entity marketing, that's across social channels or anything that the way I think of entity marketing is like anything that has to be approved by the marketing department before it goes out. But in a community, it's like whatever comes up is that's what's on the table today. And like you're mentioning, there's so much benefit to that because it's a two-way dialogue and you can ask second and third questions, based on somebody's original, let's say, concern. And man, for a lot of companies, I think they don't have that luxury because maybe their whatever they're offering is not as sexy as travel tours, to to very
That's true.
cool locations, But it is a good point. Like I think the main underlying message is find a way where you can have a human conversation with the humans that you're serving and like eliminate at some point you have to take the entity mask off and just speak to the human behind it without the spell check, without the grammar and the punctuation and just yeah, just get in there. So you have tours now. How are you thinking about monetization in the future? Is there anything you're adding, pivoting, with different service offerings, or are you just doubling down on tours?
Yeah, for us, it's all about the tours. We don't really want to be a large company. We don't intend to be a multi-billion dollar company running hundreds of tours. For us, is our objective
Uh-huh.
is to just be twice as big as we are now. A size that would mean that that I and Meg can still get to know guests in a few years just by joining some of the tours. I always join the first tour when we run a new destination, and I always design the product myself. So I will join the first tour to make sure that everything is good. So I get to know a lot of our guests that way. And so for us, we want to remain in a size where we can still get to know most people. So maybe 1,000 customers a year, that's enough for us. We just want to
Mm,
continue to add more destinations and to fine tune the current ones that we have so that we can try to make them closer. We can try to bring them closer to 100% women focused and women led. So that would be
mm,
our objective. And rather than growing bigger and having more tours where it becomes harder to remain true to your mission and to your values and to your vision, we want to focus on fewer tours, more curated,
mm,
more focused on the objective that made us start this at the beginning rather than growing more. So 2026 is a bit of a pause year for us, as I was
mhm,
mentioning to you earlier. So we want to like take a step back and say, okay, are we still happy that we are focusing on the things that matter to us and that can move the needle and that can make a difference? Where can we improve the product? Which destinations maybe we need to stop offering and which others are we going to offer more? Focus more on destinations where women have fewer opportunities and so we can have a bigger impact rather than on destinations where women already have a lot of impact. So maybe less Europe where there's already a lot of opportunities for women and more other continents where there's fewer
mm,
opportunities. So be more strategic in assessing our portfolio and focusing on places where we can have a bigger impact and maybe doubling in size from where we were this year, but no more than that. So rather curating it more and like making sure that we are fully 100% focusing on our mission and making a difference rather than becoming huge and then by definition being more dispersed, less focus on what we intended to do when we started and more headaches if you want and bigger teams and bigger everything, which is not our objective and why we got into this in the first place. So twice
mm.
as big, more destinations, more curated, more focused on what we do and less of everything else. We will try some marketing strategies and we will try to put some budget behind commercial strategy and, just marketing in general, which we never did until now. So for 2026, we want to put some money and try some things out and see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, maybe that's something we can help with. No clue. I'll send you the book anyway. It'll have to at least, get through customs and get to Malta. I don't know how that's going
And
to work
filter
if you're
PR.
still there. Yeah. So in that case, just along the same thread, when we're talking about pricing and product and offers, if you want to, yes, we want to expand the reach of the company and double the number of clients per year. Sounds great. but you also mentioned like doubling down and providing a higher quality product. How does that affect the pricing versus the mission? Because as you provide better, higher quality services, I would imagine that that drives the price up, which may limit the expansion or how rapidly you expand the offering. So just walk me through like how you're thinking about pricing and offering.
So for us, the cost that is the main driver of the pricing. We always try to. We have rejected destinations where we felt like we couldn't offer a price that was good value for money. We are not
Mm,
a budget company; we're a luxury travel company, and so our
mm,
tours are expensive. But we always want to make sure that remain good value for money. I'm happy with something that is expensive. If you want to go to Antarctica, it will be expensive.
mm,
However, you can go to Antarctica on a trip that's not very good value for money, or you can go to Antarctica on a trip that's good value for money. So for us, it has always been about value for money. Needs to be People need to feel like they made a good investment. We need to make an amount of money that we feel comfortable with, that covers our costs and that covers our overheads, and that generates a profit that we're comfortable with. But at the same time, it needs to be competitive with the market, and it needs to be good value for money. So we're not scared about expensive. We are
mm,
concerned about poor value for money. So whenever we have tried to design a product that we felt was not good value for money, then we decided to not launch it. This has happened a few times. We try to put a trip together. The first thing that we do is try to get it to a quote. Before I even go and do any scouting and I make anybody waste their time, I want to get into a preliminary quote to get a ballpark estimate of like, okay, is this going to work or not? To give you a very easy to understand example, if I'm trying to charter a boat and a boat has 30 cabins and all the cabins are double beds and most of our guests want to share, this is never going to work financially for us because we are going to only be able to put 30 guests and the boat will have given us a quote for 60 people because they assume that double beds mean two people. And so
mm,
that usually will mean that the quote is not going to work. So before I go and join this ship and I do a tour with them, I want to make sure that this will make sense. So I'll start to ask questions like how many of the cabins can have twin beds? How many guests can we put? Will you quote us? Normally they will quote you per cabin because they assume two people. And so it will never work. We will have to put a price at a level where I will not feel comfortable.
mm,
So we start doing this first just to make sure if ballpark we feel like it will be a good value for money at the trip. And then we just add a margin on top of a cost, just like everybody else, right? A margin that we feel comfortable with, that we feel
mhm,
will remain competitive. It's really not rocket science. It's like what everybody else will do, right? We have cost, we have a price that we feel will be competitive and that we feel will sell, and a product that we feel is great value for money. And so, like you say, curating more may sometimes be more expensive.
mhm.
Focusing on women-led activities and tours is much more expensive than hiring men. That is just the reality because you
Yeah.
need a lot more backup. Sometimes
Mhm,
there's no trained and experienced woman doing certain thing. And so we are investing on somebody's training. We are investing in
mm,
somebody who has less experience. Maybe they are much more eager and they will do a much better job than somebody who has been doing this for 20 years. But the reality is that there's an investment. There's a lot of help and support that we provide to our partners in the destinations we visit that we wouldn't have to provide if we were just hiring the best company out there. We are not hiring the best guide out there or the best driver or the best hotel. Sometimes we are hiring somebody where we can help the most. And that often means higher
mm,
investment. And so that tends to be more costly. We also pay above market rate prices. In many destinations, guides are basically earning almost as tips, like people in the hospitality industry in the US. And we don't want that model. We want to pay people what they deserve and for their work. And the tips are a
mm,
real tip like we understand it in Europe. It's like going above and beyond your job, but you are compensated for your job. We pay above market rates. We pay all fees. There are no hidden costs. Our trips are mostly all inclusive. We stay at 4 or 5 star hotels. We eat at beautiful restaurants. We have comfortable minibuses or vans or whatever cars. So this all adds up to the price. If we feel like the cost is this, and we need to add this margin, and this price is competitive and is good value for money, then we'll launch a destination. So I think that part of
mm,
the competitiveness and like feeling good value for money is subjective. It's what I
mm,
feel, right? Do I feel that $1,000 for Antarctica is good value for money? It's expensive, but is it good value for money? I think it's pretty good value for money, the product that we offer compared to what's available in the market. And people understand that it's expensive. Now, if I tell you a week in Spain is going to be 13,000, you're going to be like, what are we
yeah.
doing for 13,000 in Spain? Where are you taking me? Like,
Uh,
it's gonna have to be something truly special for you to spend 13,000. Like nobody will spend 13,000 for a week in Spain. So it's kind of like there's perception of certain destinations being expensive and some others not being expensive, and there's like a general consensus in the market, and then there's what everybody else offers. And through all of these
mm,
dynamics, just like everybody else out there, probably we fix a price that we feel is fair.
mm. I wish that more founders and agency owners would think in this way because, it's kind of like the easy way to, generate more business is to offer a budget price. I mean, that's like, it seems like if you were an early person in your sales journey, it might think like, oh, I can get more sales. I just have to drop the price. But there's the opposite side of that, which I think is more effective. And if we lean into it, it can be even, it can just accelerate the business, which is, I'm not going to think of lowering the price. How can I raise the price and find opportunities that exceed that value? There is a market for it. And I think that's really good for me to hear. It's great for our audience to hear that.
100%.
And underlying all of that is you understand who your clientele is. You understand who the ideal client profile is. And you're able to provide things based on their needs, based on their concerns, based on their desires. So, if they're like, I just want cheap budget things with shared hostel rooms in like, destinations that nobody goes in February, yeah, it's a different story. But that's not who you're serving. And by having that community just to, close the loop on that conversation, you can find all of that. And that's what guides your decisions. So,
Correct. We see
wow.
the people talking, we see guests talking about this all the time, right? When we will share
Hmm.
a trip in the group, there will be people who will comment, this is too expensive. I can go to this place for half. Absolutely, you can. You will
Yeah.
have a completely different experience, but you can absolutely visit Spain for 1,000 instead of 13,000. You can absolutely do that. You will stay in hostels, you will take public transportation, you will need more time, you will take group experiences, and it will be a fantastic type. It will just be a different type of product. And so it's important to understand what it is that you're selling. Like in many software companies will have like the no frills free plan or like a low fee, and then you'll have premium and better service and so on. So this is the same, right? Like, what are you fitting in this kind of like value for money? Nowadays, we're very used to, okay, I'll get the cheaper license and I'll pay $10 a month. But if I want better service or more users or whatever, I'll pay $30. Like, we are so used to this that it's
Hmm.
just about applying the same. And then you just need to make sure that your value proposition is very clear in the minds of people. In our case, as I said earlier, it's also this additional impact, knowing that your vacation is not just an amazing vacation, but
Mm.
makes a difference, has a perceived value as well. That for us is
Hmm.
very important, but that it's this intangible that may allow you, and I'm not saying it's the case for us, but may allow other companies to charge a bit more because there is an intangible benefit beyond just the product itself that you're providing objectively to people. Like this additional making a difference is obviously very clear in something like a tour where it has like, it has an intangible part of it. Like what's the value of a tour? It's not just the costing element of it. It's also the experience. It's the people that you're with. It's the
Hmm.
specific moments. It's the knowing that you're making a difference. It's the people that you meet. It's not the $20 entry fee to a museum. Is that maybe the curator explained to you something very personal and took you behind the scene, and maybe it's their house that they are showing you. All of
Mm.
this has an intrinsic value that's subjective. And so understanding what that value is very important and very difficult when you're selling something that's intangible, because it's not
Mhm.
just the cost of what you're offering. It's this added value of like the perceived value that people have for that. And this perceived value is hard to manage and it's hard to quantify, very hard to quantify. But if
Yeah.
you're among your customers all day long, you understand how much the person that you're targeting values that. And so
Mm.
that's why being among your community, and maybe it's not your community, but you can be on Reddit forums or on Facebook groups that somebody else manages that is of the people that you're targeting. And you can be there listening to them every day, talking as if you were with friends who are the users of your company and were telling you everything that they worry about and their challenges and the things that they find on a daily basis. Just listening to the community, even if it's not yours, is something that I think more business owners should do. Just spend more time
Mm.
with their customers, and you can do that virtually nowadays. You don't even have to meet them in person.
Wow. Words of wisdom. Yeah, definitely. I mean, social listening, Reddit, Quora. And funny enough, if you understand what's going on in those threads and you engage in those threads, obviously you have to be very careful with it for my marketing audience, but that's, LLMs like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude are polling user generated content. They're polling reviews. So I would imagine for you, Mar, like you probably don't have an issue with organic visibility because you have so much user generated content that either you asked for strategically or, like you said before, it just happens because you're delivering a delightful and joyful experience for your clients. So I'm conscious of time here, but if you could leave the audience with something to think about that's on your mind in 2026, what would you hope that more business owners think about?
For us, we're in the travel industry, so it's an industry that's extremely cyclical. So the one thing that I worry about these days is that, the economy around the world is a little bit unstable. So
Mm,
for us, the first thing that you do when things go wrong and when you are financially constrained is you stop traveling, you stop vacations, right? You cut your vacations. So if
mm,
you are in an industry that is cyclical like ours, it's good to maybe put the measures in place to protect your business and manage your cash flows. In the travel industry, when the pandemic arrived, it was very clear who had their ducks in a row and who had their cash flow management under control and who didn't. Because if you
mm,
didn't, you went bankrupt straight away. And so if
mm,
you are in an industry where your product is very easy to live without, should things go south, then you probably should start thinking like we are every day these days and what you can do to protect your business and protect your cash flows. Because imagine if for a year your revenues go to half, like how are you going to make sure that you can survive? And I think with the pandemic, many businesses saw that. But if you are in a cyclical industry like ours, I think it's even more imperative. There's already a lot of instability and a lot of uncertainty that is affecting, I'm sure, a lot of businesses. But that's something that's in my mind. That's something that I think anybody who is in an industry like ours should be thinking about a little bit more. If your product is something people can live without, you should probably worry about your cash flow management in the next 12 months to make sure that you are ready in case anything happens.
I love that. That's definitely sound advice. Mar Pages, where can we find out more about you, your co-founder Meg, and more about solo female travelers?
So you can find us on Facebook. Obviously, that's where it all started, and we have the only communities where the URL is actually solo female travelers. So
Mm,
our URL is Facebook/groups/solo female travelers. That's obviously only for women. You can find us on our website. Everything is solofemaletravelers.com. So it's the club
mm.
domain and the extension, and you can find us on Instagram as solofemaletravelers.club, on Facebook, on the group, on the website, on Instagram, everywhere we are solofemaletravelers.club. And then, of course, if you type Mar and Meg, you will find us as well because,
Nice.
everything is Mar and Meg. And so, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn as Mar Pages as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here. I love your perspective in business and in marketing, really with a user centric focus and also having that social impact mission as opposed to just profit. And it really shows like, the success and the really the virality of where your business has gone in the last 5 years. If you just care about the people that you serve and you're in it for the right reasons with a smart analytical understanding of business structure and over delivering value for price. So thank you for bringing your wisdom to the show, Meg. Mark, sorry.
There's so
Jeez.
much mention in Meg. You know how many people
I
confuse
know.
us, right?
I-
In real life, people confuse us and will call me Meg and they will call her Mag, Marzo. It's like sometimes they will be called Mag or Mayor. It's like, so
Just
don't
a
worry.
combination of the two.
It's like all sorts. Thanks for having me. I hope that I've inspired more people to stay true to their mission and their values and why they started their business, because I think that that's something that as an entrepreneur is easy to forget. And so once you remember that, you probably go back to your roots and you know why your why is always very important.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.